Hi, everyone. I'm back again, and today's Synastry chart is between Camila Cabello and Shawn Mendes. So I'm going to get started on this right away. His Neptune conjuncts her midheaven and Fortuna, and her Neptune conjuncts her midheaven and Fortuna natally. So this is interesting because, well, I'm going to do the natal placement first. This has to do with fantasy, illusions, glamour, and music, because Neptune also rules those energies, and Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. And she's had a very fortunate career with music because Neptune is conjuncting her midheaven, and the midheaven has to do with the career, and Fortuna has to do with fortunate circumstances or good fortune. Now, his Neptune conjuncts her midheaven as well. And so he brings into this relationship fantasy, illusions, possible deceptions. So this is out in the open because the midheaven sits right at the top of the chart. Now, also between the two of them in the planetary department, his Venus opposes her Neptune. When you have Venus opposing Neptune between two people, this really has to do with fantasy, illusions. You see the other person through rose-colored glasses, and you look at them like they could possibly be the right partner for you, but in reality, it doesn't work out that way. It's basically looking at the other person through rose-colored glasses, and it's a fairy tale. Now, his Jupiter conjuncts her Singer and Amicatia and South Node. So there's this huge friendship, and she's a singer because Jupiter's the largest planet in the solar system, and it's conjuncting her Singer and Amicatia, and that has to do with friendship. The South Node is there as well. So he brings into this relationship good fortune for her by knowing him, but it actually works both ways because of the Neptune and Fortuna conjunction that I talked about on the midheaven. Her Vesta conjuncts his South Node. That has to do with devotion. He could rely on her. She was there for him, and she was devoted, and it was a very comfortable energy for him. But her Velan conjuncts his South Node as well, and this has to do with camouflage, disguises, like being a chameleon. So the way she presented herself in the relationship isn't really what was there. Like I said, it's like being a disguise, a chameleon. And this also ties into the Venus opposing Neptune aspect between the two of them. So one day, one of them, or actually both of them, will wake up from the fog and realize that they're not really right for each other. Also in their chart, his Uranus conjuncts her Ceres, Adorea, Grief, and Fantasia. Here we go again. More Neptunian energies. And Uranus has a very unstable energy. You never know what to expect. And since his Uranus is conjuncting her Ceres, so she did love him. She felt that there was love, and there's adoration as well. But also in this mix, her Grief and Fantasia are holding hands. So at the end, when the Neptune fog lifted and she was no longer on that magic carpet ride, Grief came in over the loss of this fantasy. Now, in his natal chart, he has Venus and Mars in conjunction in Cancer. So he's charming and sexy. But he also has Caputo conjuncting his sun at 0 degrees, and that's the tightest orb, which adds to this energy. So he's like a seducer and like a sweet talking ladies man. But I think he has sugar in his tank, honestly. And I'm going to get to that, but I want to go back to his Mars and Venus in Cancer. So men who have Mars in Cancer, they can be moody and emotional, and they're motivated by intimacy. But it's a very feminine energy. And with his Venus in Cancer, he could be sweet. Men with Venus in Cancer, that they'll go along with you on the picnic, and they don't mind eating fancy sandwiches, like with watercress and cucumbers without the crust. I mean, it's just it's like I said, a feminine energy. Now her Asmodeus conjuncts his sun and Caputo, and the demon of lust. So she brought these sexy vibes into this relationship, but he's not really serious about her, because with his sun and Caputo in conjunction at 0 degrees, Caputo's one of the bad boys in astrology. Caputo is like a seducer. They could be users and clout chasers, and knowingly deceptive, which would go back to his Neptune conjuncting her midheaven. So they have the look of love, but not the real feelings within. And I did not see any major love asteroids from him making any contacts in her chart. So now I'm going to tell you about what I found in the synastry between the two of them about the possibility of him being bisexual. Now, it would definitely show up in his natal chart, but I don't have his birth time. But I'm going to tell you what I found, and it's very telling. His Ganymede and Chimera, Sphinx, and Aderia conjuncts her ascendant. And the ascendant is a very important angle in a synastry chart. Those energies from the other person will come to you, and you'll feel them. Now, Ganymede has to do with being gay, and Chimera has to do with Shawn's like a shapeshifter in this relationship. It's like a hybrid. Like when you have a car, and the car can run on gas, but it could also run on electricity, with a battery. So I'm thinking there is sugar in this tank, because that's what these asteroids are telling me. And Sphinx has to do with hidden secrets, hidden agendas, mysteries. And his Aderia conjuncting her ascendant, yes, he adored her, but it wasn't like a long-term love that would coincide with marriage and longevity. And friendship, yes. I mean, you could adore your friends. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're in love with them. Now, also, like I said before, his Neptune conjuncting her midheaven, Neptune also rules bisexuality. So I'm thinking a lot of other people must see this. And his Ganymede also conjuncts her Sedna on her ascendant. So maybe they separated because of that. I mean, she can say whatever she wants, but there's secrets here because of his Sphinx conjuncting her ascendant. I just lost my train of thought there for a second, but Sedna has to do with betrayal and separation. And since it's conjuncting his Ganymede, I think that there's a strong possibility that she woke up from the Neptune fog and the dream, and the magic carpet ride just came to a halt. Now his Antuanus, Hell, and Atahualpa conjuncts her IC. And the IC sits at the very bottom of the chart. It's behind the scenes. So whatever energies, whatever planets, asteroids are conjuncting your IC from the other person, you'll feel this, but nobody else will see it. It's kind of hidden. And Antuanus has to do with, again, it has to do with, it's a gay asteroid. And Hell has to do with covering things up, hiding things. And also holding hands with those two asteroids is Atahualpa, and that has to do with drugs. So I don't know what his recreational preferences are, but I'm just telling you what I see. And I think there's a lot more to what is going on with him behind the scenes that she's letting out because of her Neptune and her Valon, and there's just all kinds of secrets here. Now her Lilith conjuncts his North Node and Don Quixote. And Lilith has to do with sexuality. It's conjuncting his North Node. So the theme of this relationship for him was there's hidden desires here and a sexiness, but it's conjuncting her Lilith is conjuncting his Don Quixote, and that has to do with unrequited love, broken promises. This relationship is really about the hidden desires and the sex, but with his Caputo Sun conjunction, I think he promises more than he can deliver. He's just not really there. And that has to do with also with Don Quixote, and his Eleutheria conjuncts his North Node. So he really likes his freedom. And, in Don Quixote, the impossible dream, showing up, just, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not. I can't give you really what you want. It's like a long term. He can't give her long term stability in the relationship. Like I said, friendship, yes, but marriage, no. I didn't see any of the marriage asteroids either between him and her. Although like I said, I don't have his birth time, but this to me is just a sort of friendship fantasy fairy tale sort of connection. Now, also his Lilith in his natal chart, his Lilith conjuncts Asmodeus and Swindle, and that has to do with sex and Asmodeus, the demon of lust, but Swindle holding hands here, it means that there's a possibility of deception and lies. So is he lying about his sexuality? Lilith it's the shadow side of sexuality, and Asmodeus is there, that has to do with lust. So Swindle is like, I don't think, I'm just telling you what the chart is saying to me. I just don't think that he's being honest about his sexuality. That's my opinion. His Mira conjuncts her vertex. Friends with benefits. The vertex, another very important point in Synastry, and his Mira, that has to do with sex that's unconventional. I've talked about Mira before. It's just not what you would expect. It's a possibility. There's so many different variations of this. It could border on, having more than one orgies, more than one person in the bedroom, or, in his case, maybe there was 2 men and her. I don't know. I'm just telling you how Mira operates. Now, his Chiron and Pytho conjuncts her descendant, another important angle. And Pytho has to do with sweet talker, seducer, persuasive. So she fell for this. I mean, I'm not saying she fell for it, but with Neptune, she kind of did, and so did he, because it worked both ways with all these Neptunian energies and the fantasy and the fairy tale, but it brought her a lot of pain because his Chiron is conjuncting her descendant. And ultimately, this relationship didn't work out. So that's all I have today, and I hope you enjoyed this interpretation, and I will be back soon. So hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop. Have a nice day.